the second half of Game 4 showed me a lot of things that I just didn't think existed. It showed me that, in my opinion, of course, that Joe Mazzulla is capable of coaching a professional basketball team in the playoffs. It showed me that this situation with Joe Mazzulla can work. It showed me that Jaylen Brown shouldn't just leave and go to New York. And it showed me that, something that I already knew, but, it's just good to have things like this verified, is that this Boston Celtics team, the players are so talented on an individual level that, like, sometimes when good teams underperform, like, they're always going to have moments of, like, oh, that's the team that we should be seeing. There it is. And, like, that's basically what the second half of Game 4 was. I mean, the first half was, I really feel like, if you had just listened to that game without the context of the score or whatever, you would have thought that Boston was really getting blown off the floor. Boston was really hanging around a lot in the first half. Jimmy Butler wasn't playing well, but also Boston was playing really good defense on Jimmy Butler. Boston played with tempo. They played really well on the defensive end of the ball, and they let that create a lot of their offense. They didn't let the Miami Heat defense just live in the half court. Boston's going to have to replicate that. And I don't think it's like really a shot in the dark. Boston didn't really do anything particularly super crazy or like historically they didn't really go outside the realm of like realistic things. They just played a good basketball game and they were coached really well. Joe Mazzulla Joe Mazzulla having a good half coaching is like, I'll take it at this point, because this dude has raised my blood pressure so much this postseason. But he did a really good job, and so did the players on the floor. And I think that has to be the game plan. Obviously, going into Game 5 is that Boston's offense is gonna have to try to put strain on they got to put pressure on Miami's defense. They can't let Miami's defense just live in the half court. They're gonna have to put pressure on them with pace and tempo. And Boston's got to be, a lot more active on the defensive side of the ball. And when they do get turnovers, they have to capitalize on them, because Miami's transition defense is absolutely fucking atrocious. And that is something that you would expect of a team. I mean, regardless of how good Eric Spoelstra has been this postseason, regardless how good of a coach he is, that's just something that's going to come with the territory when you have a team like Miami, where it's really like just a bunch of it's Jimmy Butler and it's Jimmy Bam and a bunch of overperforming guys. Even Kyle Lowry. I mean, respectfully, nobody predicted Kyle Lowry would really make that much of a difference this postseason outside of diehard Miami Heat fans. So, I mean, you can't let this Miami defense live in the half court. You got to put pressure, strain on them with pace, tempo, ball movement. Cause Boston is just a better team. Like they're a better team on paper. They are just so much of a better team. And Game 3, I was really like, damn, like maybe these guys just don't care. Like maybe they just don't want to win. Yeah, not that they don't want to win, but like maybe like even Joe Mazzulla said that he had lost a locker room. So I just kind of figured like, damn, like maybe these dudes just don't maybe they're just ready to check in. Maybe they're just focused on the off season and like the second half of Game 4 showed me that these guys obviously there's still fight in the players at least. Joe Mazzulla was competent. He was a competent head coach. He called timeouts that were necessary to kill Miami runs. There was still some adjustments in the first half that should have been made that just never were made. But with the way the second half went, it kind of became not redundant, but it kind of became like irrelevant again, just because of the way the second half was, the way the Celtics defense was playing, and how it was creating easy offense for them. And yeah, the Celtics got to get out. They're gonna have to go in Game 5 and get out and run on this Miami defense, because there's no way. Not only like mentally, these dudes really ain't built to play elite transition defense, but just physically, Boston is just going to be a more imposing team. They're a bigger, stronger, more athletic team. And, when you get teams like that can just run and, have track meets essentially in the middle of basketball games, like, Miami is, and there's no disrespect to Miami. Obviously, they've been very great this postseason. Erik Spoelstra has been incredibly great this postseason, but it just is what it is. Like, if Boston plays like that, if Boston takes their play in the second half and plays like that for the rest of the series, like, Boston is going to be the first team ever to come back down 0-3, because Miami just does not have the players. They don't have the bodies to handle the Celtics when they're playing like that. Obviously, we have an Al Horford sighting that helped. Derek White sighting that helped. Derrick Rose has been playing good up until the Miami series. It seemed. Boston's guards have been struggling a lot that series. I think they're only shooting like 19% collectively going into Game 4. So, Miami seemed like they kind of threw their knockout punch in the first half, and Boston just kept hanging around. And then once, Boston started playing good basketball, Joe Mazzulla started, being a good coach, it was just like Miami had no answer. Like I said, if Boston could play like that, and it's not unrealistic for Boston to play like that. Like, again, they didn't do anything like crazy, they didn't do anything outside the realm of like plausibility out of like that was a very like they could easily replicate that performance. Like I said, it wasn't anything crazy, historically great. They just played good basketball, and Joe Mazzulla was a good coach. He coached. He did what he needed to do. He killed opposing teams' runs with timeouts. He didn't discourage things that were working. He actually he basically essentially told Boston, like, we need to run with this. Like, this has been working. Like, keep doing it. We need to, when we get a turnover, run out. Don't try to set up an offense. Just run out. We're bigger, faster, and stronger than them. Like, this isn't a crazy thing. This wasn't a crazy performance from Boston. It's easily Boston could replicate this again. And if they do, if this is how they're gonna play for the rest of this series, they're gonna be the first team to come back down 0-3. But that's just a question: is will Boston play like that? Is this gonna be the Celtics going forward? Because that's how I felt in Game 7 of the Philly series. I thought, Boston as a team, I thought they had a breakthrough. And I thought Tatum himself, I thought he himself had kind of a breakthrough he finally had that moment where he was like, "Oh, I'm Jason Tatum. Like, I just need to, I'm the first person that gets to touch the ball, and the offense runs through me, and I'm not just gonna go sit in the corner, let Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown take the ball, like." And obviously, that isn't what has happened so far, but maybe this will be, the breakthrough that the Celtics need. I hope so, because, and I'm glad that Boston avoided the sweep too, because that would have been absolutely fucking embarrassing as a Celtics fan. But yeah, hopefully Boston gets through. Hopefully that was Boston's breakthrough. I guess all we can do is just wait and see what game 5 has to hold. It's in Boston, so Boston's gonna get a much needed lift from their Boston's gonna get a much needed lift for their home crowd, and again, maybe that was the breakthrough. Maybe the second half of Game 4 was the breakthrough that Boston needed, and now they're just gonna play like the Boston Celtics team of last postseason. But who knows? My only prediction for this series is that if Boston plays like how they did in the second half, they're gonna come back and win. But will they? I don't know. I don't know. This series has been very emotionally trying to watch, to say the least. But yeah, that's all I really got to say about this.